So as the image showed in that previous video, the law is the character of God. So therefore the character of God cannot change, because if the character of God changes, if the law changes, then the character of God changes. And if that changes, then God cannot be trusted. Right? And if God changed the law for his son, then why could he not change the law for the people before the flood, or for the people in Sodom and Gomorrah? And if Jesus could change the law, well then that would make God a liar, because the word says that the law cannot be changed. We're going to read that in a second. So even for the sacrifice of his son, who was the ultimate sacrifice, and the shedding of his blood allowed salvation of man, he could not change the law. He could not change the law. So even when Christ was on the cross and the entire world of sin was upon Jesus, the Father could not change the law, because again the law is the character of God which cannot change, and the law of God cannot change because we are the wages of sin is death, and that comes from the transgression of the law. So when you transgress the law, you fall into sin, and when you fall into sin, then the wages of sin is, and we read that in 1 John 3 and 4. So whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. So the law is the character of God, and if you transgress against the law, then you sin, and the wages of sin is death, like I just mentioned. So therefore God couldn't change that. The law could not be changed at all, right? And we see an idea of that in Daniel. Now if you go to Daniel 6 verse 10, we then read, sorry, not verse 10, verse 12. Daniel verse 12, we read, Then they came near and spake therefore before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, so the king answered and said, this thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot alter it not. So they came and asked the king, didn't you just sign something? And he said, yes, I did sign it. And according to the law, and according to the law of the Medes and Persians, the law cannot be altered. Exactly the same way. God could not alter the law for nobody, even his own son, because it was written. And we see that in Exodus 31:18, and he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon the Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of God.